Live from Sin City, it's the Socks and Pinstripes Podcast. And now, here's the star of the show, Giant Dr. Griffin!
This is Diet Dr. Griffin back with another episode of the Socks and Pinstripes Podcast. Like, rate, and subscribe. The MLB season has officially started, not just the two game series in Japan with the Dodgers and the Cubs, but the actual season opener has started. You excited about that, Shane?
Hell yeah. I never go to opening day because tickets are expensive for no reason, in my opinion. But I go to opening weekend and I'm going to the game today.
Oh, wow.
So
What time are they playing?
1:10.
Okay, well, we'll try to get you out of here in a reasonable amount of time.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to come up pretty fast.
I won't stay. So
Who's the pitching matchup for today?
yeah, I'm just gonna look that up. So probable pitchers.
Pretty sure you guys are playing the Athletics. And on a side note, I was looking on ESPN, and they just refer to them as the Athletics. They don't put a city or anything. It just says Athletics.
Yeah.
On the team.
It should be a pretty good matchup. Brian Wu versus JP Sears. One of my favorite lefties.
There was a comedian, there's a comedian apparently named JP Sears out there too.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. Hey, what do you think
I
about
Googled it, and it was like the same. I Googled it just to make sure it wasn't the pitcher, because that was like the first thing I thought. Like, does the pitcher have a side gig as a comedian or something? Just JP Sears just seems like a very distinct name.
Yeah, he just moonlights on the comedy circuit. No,
yeah, sometimes it happens. People get, side gigs and stuff. Yeah. In case this pitching thing doesn't work out, it's the off season. He can do other things.
Yeah, speaking of pitching thing not working out, so much for Jordan Montgomery having his comeback year this year.
Yeah, he ended up getting surprise Tommy John surgery. That came out of nowhere there.
Well, I wonder how much of a surprise it actually was, or if he kind of knew. It kind of seemed like something was up last year, at least. So he just tried to put it off.
I just hadn't heard anything specific about him, just, anything about him having elbow issues. It kind of just came out of nowhere, but maybe it just kind of flew under my radar.
No, I think you're right. Maybe he just kept it a secret and was hoping that he wouldn't miss any time for it. So
yeah, it's gonna create an interesting.
What do you think about guys throwing? Yeah, what do you think about guys throwing like this knuckle change? That's kind of like a sinker. It's like a sinker slider.
I mean, they seem to have rotations in pitches. And, every few years it was a slider. Now it's kind of like a splitter has been the big pitch that people have been adding, and then hitters adjust to that. So I keep hearing things about this kick changeup. Is that what they're?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay. I've heard it referred to as the kick changeup. I didn't realize it was just a knuckle.
Yeah,
it seems like everybody's just trying to, come up with ways to deceive the hitters, throw new things at them, because they're constantly evolving. Like, you can buy pitch machines now that could duplicate pitches of specific players and stuff. Like, you couldn't duplicate, a Bob Gibson pitch back in the 60s when you were like in spring training, but you could do that now with the best.
Especially the traject machines will do the arm slot and everything. So
yeah, that's why hitters are getting better and better and better at reading these pitches, and the pitchers have to keep adding on velocity and putting their arms at risk because the hitters are just better.
Yeah.
So speaking of something that happened this week, the Orioles signed Kyle Gibson because, as the old George Carlin said, one night I made it. I had never been with a 10, but one night I made it with 5 2s. And I had to say the very PG version of that because there was some language in there. So seems to be the approach that the Orioles are doing. They're just going to go with
Yeah.
a bunch of 4s and 5s.
They kind of did that last year too, except for
Well, they at
Corbin
least
Burns.
had Corbin Burns.
Yeah.
They at least had one really good pitcher and a bunch of like 3s and 4s. Although
Yeah.
Grayson Rodriguez has upside of being at least a 2 or potentially a 1 at some point if he ever gets
Yeah.
healthy. Now, Cal Raleigh signed a massive extension with your Mariners. And I wanted to get your thoughts about this because he signed an extension for 6 years, $105 million.
So on the one hand, as a Mariners fan, that makes me super excited because at least they'll keep the two best players on the team in Julio and Cal together. And I think that Cal, with the work that he does with the pitching staff, there's a reason why people consider them to be the best starting rotation in baseball. Even people talk about the 90s Braves in the same breath and said that even they were only 1, 2, 3, and this is like 1 through 5 basically. And you have Luis Castillo, who this year is like your 5 guy, which is crazy because he's the Rock and was the Rock for most of his career. As a fan, awesome. Glad to see they're keeping him around. My concern for him as a player is that he's already voiced frustration that the front office doesn't want to actually spend the money to win. The front office keeps telling us that they don't have to spend money to win. And both people are right, which is frustrating because you got to spend a little bit of money, but you don't have to spend a lot of money. And I worry that they're just literally going to waste Cal's and Julio's careers because they'll have the two people that will draw the fans and will come watch no matter what. And we'll just win 80 games a year and miss the playoffs by 1 run every single year.
Well, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, I can understand them wanting to lock Cal up because he won the Platinum Glove last year. He's not just a solid, and he's also hit over 30 home runs the last 2 years at the catcher position, which is a really unusual thing.
Well, another thing that makes me kind of excited too is, first of all, F Rowdy Tellez at first or designated hitter, wherever he's playing. But
Good job
yeah. Anyway, Colt Emerson is a shortstop, and I've long said, JP I think he's done having really great years, and this guy's got power and defense, and a lot of people are saying he might even get called up this year where he would play. Maybe JP gets injured like he does every single year and he plays while JP's out. But that kind of makes me really excited, and pair him with a couple of speedsters at second and have hopefully Jorge Polanco turns it around. They have the potential to be pretty good, but they have the potential to be pretty good every year. I think the outfield, they did a great job with the outfield. Victor Robles deserves to be there. Julio Rodriguez deserves to be there. And Randy Arozarena deserves to be there. That's one of the best outfields, I think, in the league right now. So
certainly certainly a lot of speed out there, can play some good defense. I think that's really going to be important. But
and you have Randy Arozarena. I think you'll see a lot of Randy Arozarena and Julio Rodriguez's energy feed off of each other because they both do. Randy Arozarena, every time he hits a home run, he just takes the bat and just throws it on the ground. And Julio Rodriguez is the same thing with the bat flip. So I think those two guys will hopefully feed off each other in a good way, not a negative way, because it can go both ways. So,
well, speaking of things that can go both ways, we are currently playing each other in fantasy this week.
Yeah, it's
first
close.
of 3 matchups. Yeah, it would be a lot. It would be a lot less close if you didn't have 5 home runs yesterday.
Oh yeah, if Ryan Presley didn't try to lose the game he came in to save and then jump his ERA up to 27 and just ruin all that for me.
Yeah. I had my first bench bomb yesterday, although I'm not going to kill myself over that because when a player isn't playing and then hits a pinch hit home run, it's like, well, whatever. You can't do anything about that.
Yeah, I meant to play. I meant to start Lars Nootbaar this whole entire weekend, and then I didn't. I finally figured it out today, but he's just been hitting 500 with a bomb on the bench like since they started playing. I've just been like, damn it.
Well, I'll tell you, a guy who's really done well for you so far, and a player I'm kind of kicking myself for not drafting was Jordan Westberg.
Oh yeah, dude. People were down on him this year, and I was like, I have no idea why. But
This is the thing. I was drafting Jordan, not Jordan. I almost said Jordan Montgomery again. Jordan
yeah,
Westberg. I was drafting him all throughout my mock drafts, and then
yeah.
when it got to the actual draft itself, my brain just went to sleep at the point of the draft where he was. Because the way that our draft went, I was picking like two picks at a time.
Yeah.
Because I had the one spot, so that would mean that in a snaking draft, you basically have two picks in a row every single time.
Yeah.
So when the spot came up where I would have taken Westberg, I could have taken Westberg, I should say. I was so happy that Anthony Santander was there because I passed on Santander the previous round because I was going to go Ozuna Santander, and then I was like, I decided to grab. And I thought about grabbing a pitcher there, so I grabbed DeGrom there, and then
Yeah.
I was so happy Santander came back around. I picked him,
Uh-huh.
and then I went Bregman at third at that spot.
Yeah, Bregman's pretty good.
Bregman's pretty good, especially in our league. That was one of the things I kind of thought about. In our league, we have strikeouts as a hitters category, and we have on base percentage versus traditional batting average. And Bregman's typically better in those two areas than Westberg, but I was very high in Westberg throughout the year. And if I didn't already have Mookie at second base, I probably my brain just thought Westberg at second base and completely just forgot that he was third base eligible too. So
Oh yeah, yeah.
so like my
That's the
thinking
nice
was
thing about him is he can.
yeah, like my thing was I needed third base at the time, and I was like, oh, I should just grab Bregman. He's good for our format. And
Yeah.
so far it's biting me in the butt. But it's a long season. I'm not overly worried.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm starting the year with a full IL, so that's been pretty fun.
Yeah, yeah. I just haven't had all of my offense have come pretty much from Mookie and Ohtani, which has been shocking.
Yeah, see, now you're thankful that you took Ohtani number one instead of that stupid Yankee. So
Well, like I have 9 RBIs so far, and 6 of those RBI have come from Mookie and Ohtani. And all 4 of my home runs have come from Mookie or Ohtani. It's like everything I have in my offense has basically just been like those two guys so far, and it's sad. But
Yeah.
it's only 3 games into the year. The Braves have been stinking it up so far, and I have the 1, 3, and 4 in their lineup right now. So
Yeah,
and Mike Trout hasn't gotten a hit against the Chicago White Sox, which is just completely absurd. But
yeah.
okay, and I gotta say this about the White
At least
Sox.
he's not injured. When you told me he got hit by a pitch, I was like, IL 60, let's go.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's gone 0 for 6 to start the year, so. But I just gotta say, the White Sox beat the Angels 8-0 in the first game of the season, and the Angels threw a position player out there and to end the game.
That's pretty great.
So
Dude, the Yankees beat someone like 20 to something the other day.
yes, yesterday, yesterday the Yankees went 20-9. You want to guess who was on the mound for the Brewers yesterday?
Who was on the mound for the Brew Crew?
Nestor Cortez.
Yeah, let's go.
Nestor gave up back-to-back-to-back home runs on 3 pitches.
Yeah, that's because that's another guy who should have had Tommy John and decided not to, and he's probably going to get it after this year. So,
and then he, I think he has some at bat with another hitter, and then gives up a 4th home run. The Yankees just spanked the Brew Crew yesterday.
Yeah. Hey, giving up dingers is what Nestor does best. So
Aaron Judge hit 3 home runs yesterday.
Oh, geez.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
So
the old hat trick.
So you mock my thinking of thinking about taking Aaron Judge #1 overall, and
I
he already
still,
has more
I
home
still,
runs than Otani in less games.
I
Just
still
saying.
stand behind my decision. So Aaron Judge likes to take months at a time off in the middle of the
Aaron
season.
Judge, for all of his, Aaron Judge had a very weird toe injury that he got playing in Dodger Stadium because Dodger Stadium is so old and decrepit that they had
Oh,
this,
sure. Blame the
they had,
stadium. Don't
yeah,
blame
because
the
they had like
player.
this concrete like foot thing on the ground with like the
Hey,
cage and
all the
the
Dodgers
outfield.
players, no one in the Dodgers outfield went down with a toe
Yeah, that's
injury.
because they
So.
know the quirks of their stupid stadium.
Oh, you think a guy who plays professional baseball doesn't know the quirks of every stadium?
Not a National League team. I mean, how
How
often?
long? How long has he been playing baseball?
I mean, Aaron Judge has been playing for a few years now, but I
No
think Aaron
excuses.
Judge has only played maybe
No
under
excuses.
5 games in Dodger Stadium, though.
No excuses.
Prior to that, and this was like a couple years ago.
What does he play outfield? No excuses.
And if it was an American League ballpark,
That's
I
like
could
being like,
understand.
oh well, I went to the Green Monster and I decided to not practice taking balls off the monster because I thought, well, it doesn't apply to me.
It's a difference
Not my home
between like
ballpark.
it's a difference between like being a 6'7" giant and not knowing like there's a specific piece of concrete on the ground versus the giant monster wall. Like that's a completely different situation. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt on it, and that
Prima
is
donna. Prima donna.
okay.
We're never gonna agree on him. Just
No,
FYI.
I know, I know, I know, I know, I know, I know. So I have
Got
been.
Chisholm though. If you want to talk about him, I think he's a good player. So
I have been racking my brain trying to figure out over the past few days how I'm going to be watching baseball this year
oh yeah, it's
because,
complicated, man. Because they
yeah,
like even if you wanted to, like I was doing some, and I know you're gonna get into it further, but just like really quickly, like I was
yes.
doing some research, and it was like you had to have a cable package already, and then you could pay like an extra to get it. So, but yeah, continue.
So I was talking to one of my coworkers. I was talking to some of my coworkers because I generally work at a, more technically inclined place with like networks and stuff. And one of the
Yeah.
guys who was very smart with networks said that he couldn't figure out how to get the VPN stuff to work for MLB TV. And I
Maybe
was like, if that guy can't figure it out, then I'm not going to be able to figure it out. So I immediately abandoned that plan. I was thinking about looking at Fubo TV, and they have the Diamondbacks and the Padres package, but for the amount of money that I'd be paying a month with them, there's literally like 2 channels that I want to watch. I have programming I like to watch on TBS and TNT every week, and they don't have those 2 channels.
Of course they don't.
Of course they don't. Like the only 2 channels that I wanted besides, that I couldn't. They had ESPN, that everything else I could have wanted, and I can't do that. So then I'm
Yeah.
looking at Hulu, and Hulu wants me to spend like $90 a month and get Disney. They don't have packages that have, Disney Plus and ESPN Plus and Hulu, and like I don't want all
Dude,
that
I
stuff.
will
That's
say,
what I
so
paid.
I have Hulu, and we can talk about why unofficially I have it. But it is rad for sports. Like I never really miss a sports game. So
It would just be one thing. I just want the blackouts to be over with so that I can just buy MLB TV and have this thing
right.
be simple. I can
What
live
I don't,
with.
what I don't understand is why doesn't MLB TV do MLB TV no blackouts and charge like whatever you want extra and just get over it. Like
I don't get it either. I don't get it either. I shouldn't. We in Las Vegas should not be blacked out of 6 teams. It's just
yeah,
I
you
can
guys
live
are
with being blacked out of the
crazy.
A's. I can live with
Yeah,
that. That is fair and appropriate. If the A's are indeed going to be a Las Vegas team at some point, and they're the only team that's being blacked out, I'm perfectly cool with that. I'll pay
yeah.
the MLB TV, no problem.
I think
But
it should be you get to choose. You get to choose what your home team is, and that team's not blacked out. And then MLB TV, feel free to, if I'm on the road traveling wherever, feel free to black out the game. That's fine. But for my home team, I should be able to pay for MLB TV and watch my home team.
yeah, yeah, and I think they're gonna start to they're starting to go in that direction, getting away from all the RSNs and stuff. But they just kind of have to wait a couple years to get through all of the temporary agreements so they can grab all the packages, try to bundle as many of them together as possible and sell them off to get higher rights fees like the NBA and the NFL do.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with everybody loves a Sling TV, and I'm going to get the package with ESPN, and
Hmm.
that's like $40 a month. And then I'm thinking I'm either going to buy one of or both the Padres and the Diamondbacks packages on their specific apps, which is like $100 a season for the whole season.
Okay.
And then I can watch those two teams play,
Yeah.
or just one of them. I might just buy the Padres one and maybe see how that goes, and maybe I'll buy the Diamondbacks one mid-season or something. I'm just thinking
Yeah.
like the NL West is where it's at right now in terms of like the best baseball, I think. Especially for
Yeah.
us West Coast people that want to watch a game that's starting after work, you know?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
If I was like working on the East Coast, I would just, I'd watch the Red Sox or whatever. I'd watch East Coast teams. But by the time I get home from the gym half the time, the game's already over. I'm like, I don't want to. The games are so short now. It's like by the time I'm done, I'm just they're done, and it's like, oh, I don't want to watch a game that's already finished.
I know, right? It's like you used to be able, it used to be like if you're running late, you show up like half an hour late, like no big deal. The game's going to be 3 hours. So you still got 2.5 hours of baseball. It's probably like, depending on how fast it's going, it's probably only in the third inning. And it was like, whatever. Now it's like, oh, the game started. I need to get on the train and go down there. By the time I'm walking into the stadium, it's going to be an hour later. And depending on what's going on, it's probably going to be half over by the time I get there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Just imagine those fans in LA that used to arrive in the fifth inning. Now they're arriving for the seventh inning stretch.
yeah, exactly. It's
Don't get me
crazy.
started on LA, then. That
Uh,
Dodger Stadium is vastly overrated as a baseball mecca.
I
It,
was born
it,
right after the game. I was born right after what's his name threw a no in the 1988 World Series
yeah,
at that stadium.
they need
So
they need they need a
I
new
think it's
stadium there.
pretty good.
They need a new stadium. Both the LA teams need new stadiums because Dodger Stadium is only a slight improvement over the Angels Stadium. And that's probably because they've had more money to be able to revamp it. But that
Oh,
Dodger Stadium is
You're
dumb.
giving the Angels LA, huh? That's interesting.
Well, I mean, they're literally the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim of Los Angeles. So I mean,
They'll always be the Anaheim Angels for me. So
they're LA.
yeah, they can take their LAs and shove it, in my opinion.
And one of those A's is for Artie.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay. So here's something we completely whiffed on during our predictions episode last week.
Oh
We
yeah.
totally forgot to pick World Series picks. How do we forget World Series picks? We picked like everything else but the World Series.
Sometimes you get distracted. So
I'm just gonna blame my tiredness. I've worked 17, almost 18 hours of overtime in the past 8 days. I'm
oh, geez.
fried.
Yeah.
I know some people work a lot more than that. I'm not used to working that much, and I'm on a diet right now, which is like draining my energy completely. So
Yeah.
we completely spaced on it. Who are your two World Series teams, and who is going to win?
Oh, you mean who the two that are going to play each other?
Well, yeah, I mean you're gonna
Okay.
pick the two.
Okay. Well, World Series winner, Cubs all the way. Let's go, Cubs.
All right.
Uh, from the American League, I'm gonna have to choose. You know what? Athletics. I'm doing it. I believe. Let's go.
I'm gonna pick and who's gonna win that World? Oh, you said the Cubs. Sorry.
Yeah, Cubs.
Okay,
I can't go against the futures bet I've already placed in Vegas. So
that's fair. That's fair. I'm gonna go a bit. I'm gonna go a bit dark horse here. I am going to
okay.
take the Phillies winning the World Series over the Royals.
Ooh, okay. I like that. I
I
like that a lot,
the
actually.
American League is a total crapshoot right now, and
Yeah,
I like the pitching. I like the all around team of the Royals. I think there's a lot there, and I think one of these days the Phillies are going to put it all together. They still have the vast core of that team still together.
yeah,
I think eventually they're going to figure it out. The only reason I think they lost last year is that they got cold in October,
yeah.
and I think they're perennial contenders every year. They've stepped it up for the most part, and I think last year they just got unlucky with the cold bats, and I think this year they have as much of ability to win it as anybody. So I'm picking Phillies, Royals.
Yeah,
Phillies
I think
finally get the World Series. Schwarber finally gets his ring. Bryce unfortunately gets a ring, and
I think that Bryce Harper is my Aaron Judge. I think that we go that we feel the same way but opposite on those two players. So
you love Bryce and I hate Bryce.
yeah, I think so, right?
Yeah, yeah, I suppose.
I mean, every single time I say anything good about it, you say something
He's
bad
just
about
so
it.
disingenuous. I know he's gotten a little. He seems to be saying and doing all the right things now that he's playing for the Phillies, but man, oh man, that was addition by subtraction, getting rid of him. Because the Nationals immediately won the World Series after getting rid of Bryce, and then completely fell apart after that because of some of the contract decisions that they made.
Uh,
Signing. Just imagine what would have happened, do you think, if the Nationals had signed Rendon instead of signing Strasburg?
oh man,
You
I
think
that's
Rendon actually might have stayed healthy? I genuinely believe that the Angels kind of are cursed. Like you
yeah.
say there's a dark cloud over that franchise. No, no, the dark cloud is already Moreno. Just somehow everything he touches just turns the crap.
Yeah,
They run that organization so poorly. He just they bring all of these guys up to the majors. They bring there's some guy on the pitching staff who didn't even pitch in the minors, and they're bringing him up to the major league team. They rush
classic.
all of these guys to the bigs, like Noah Shanuel. He's their first baseman. He was in like the minors for a month, drafted in the summer in the minors for a month on the big league squad by the end of that year.
Jeez.
They draft so many of these guys like with these short-term windows instead of like taking the time it takes to actually build up a minor league team.
Yeah,
If you look at what the Red Sox had done, okay, everybody was crapping on Chaim Bloom and for all the, crap because he's the one who traded Mookie, even though that was what ownership wanted. And then
yeah,
they eventually fired him for some of the signings they made or refusing to trade Chris Sale. And he
yeah,
was kind of right about because when they did trade Chris Sale, like Sale wins the Cy Young Award, and
yeah,
now all of these now the Red Sox have this stocked farm system, and all of the three guys that they talk about, Kristen Campbell and Roman Anthony and Marcelo Mayer, they're all guys that Bloom brought in. And it's like you need sometimes to take the time to bring those guys and build that farm crew along so that you have those hot prospects. Like
yeah,
your guys, your hitters and stuff that you guys have in the minors are going to be coming along on your team, the
yeah,
Mariners, as you were talking about earlier.
yeah,
You
yep,
build
yep.
some of those guys up, and some of those guys are 18-year-olds that are in
Yeah,
high
he's
school.
I think Emerson's 19. He's 19 or 18, but yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah,
need. I mean, it's okay to draft a guy in college. I'm not saying don't do that. I mean, Kyle Teal, for example, is somebody I think that Bloom took in his final draft, and I really like Kyle Teal. He's a catcher he got traded to the White Sox as part of the Crochet deal, and I think Teal has potential to be an all-star at the catcher position. He's a very safe,
Yeah.
very good player, and he's just happened to be a guy who went to college. But at the same time, it's like Marcelo Mayer was the one of the best prospects, and he was like 18, just a kid
Yeah.
coming from high school, and he's probably going to be their starting shortstop or third baseman going forward.
Yeah.
I think Bregman's going to be one and done in Boston.
Yeah. We'll
I think
see. Yeah. I think you're probably right. So,
I mean, he certainly has the potential of being one and done with the way that they structured that deal
yeah.
and being the whole Boris client thing. It could be one of those things where like it could be just a pit stop for Bregman, kind of like when Adrian Beltre signed with the Red Sox for 1 year. He had a really, really good year with the Sox and then signed with the Rangers and basically spent the rest of his career there.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. I forget that he was a Ranger. He was a good Ranger too.
Yeah, I mean, he was with you guys. He was with the Dodgers for 7 years. Then he was with the Mariners for 5, went to
Yeah.
Boston for 1, and then spent the next 8 years of his career in Texas.
Yeah. Yeah.
But his best statistical season outside of his second best statistical season was this year in Boston.
Yeah. It makes sense. As soon as you leave Seattle, they always have their best year afterward.
Well, I mean, he had his best year actually with the Dodgers when he had 48 home runs.
Yeah. It's hard to beat that year.
Yeah. And his OPS actually that year was over 1,000, which is by far his best year. Do you have
That's
any
great.
closing remarks for the show?
Oh yeah. So you and Jeff and I saw this myself. We've all three seen it. We've all three sent it to me. There have only been 2 players in MLB history with the last name Moyer, Ed Moyer and Jamie Moyer. Ed Moyer died November 18th, 1962, and Jamie Moyer was born on November 18th, 1962. They are not related to each other.
There's some pretty crazy ones that have come out this week, like the Max Muncies. There's 2
Oh
Max
yeah.
Muncies now,
Yep. I saw that.
and and they both share the same birthday. They're not obviously born the same year, but they have the same birthday.
I thought Max Muncy got traded and I didn't hear about it. And I was like, okay, well, what?
Yeah, and the thing is that the Max Muncy for the Dodgers was originally with the A's.
Perfect.
And another funny factoid, since we're going to burn all the factoids out today. This week, Tyler O'Neill had his 6th straight home run on opening day.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're going to go for 7 next year.
All right. Yeah. Keep it going, man. I'm rooting for you now.
Yeah. So on that note, we're going to end the show. Look forward to seeing you guys next week. And Shane, you're going to have to give us a rundown of how the game went opening weekend. And maybe I'll talk about my opening day experience because I went to see the Tigers and the Red Sox during their opening. Well, technically it's their home opener. It wasn't opening day, but their home opener.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
Pretty
cool.
much
Yeah.
what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So on that note, we'll see you guys next week.
Bye now.